Like my first blackout, I made out with one of my friend's boyfriends and I don't remember it. So that like kind of made that my reputation, But everyone knew, like all my friends, everything knew I wasn't a bad person, but like drinking makes you do bad things. And it also is really confusing when you don't remember them. And that just became the pattern of my life. So for 10 years, I thought I was just a bad person. And then I would always try to drink more in order to feel better, to make better memories.
And here we are with Elli. I'm really excited about this. So you've just released a book. I have it in
Hmm.
my hot little hand. Not that people on YouTube can see this, but it's called The Diary of a 25-Year-Old Alcoholic.
Hmm.
So you wrote it when you were 25.
Yeah.
You're now 29, though.
Hmm.
Your story is pretty incredible, but you have such a strong message for young girls because your drinking career and a lot of the damage that you caused to your own self started pretty young.
Yeah. So my first drink, I was 13. I stole it out of my older brother's dresser. It was like Captain Morgan, and my best friend at the time and we just found it, took sips, and I was like, ooh, I like this. Because at that period, my brother was a junior, senior in high school, and we would go back and forth between my mom's and dad's house. But when we were at my mom's house, she let it be the party house. And so there were always high schoolers, older high schoolers, boys, girls sleeping over, drinking. And I got curious. And at 14, I was in high school, and then that's when I had my first blackout. And after my first blackout, I blacked out almost every time I drank. It was very, it was immediate. There was no like path to alcoholism. Like at 14, I knew that I shouldn't drink, but I kept doing it because I was 14, you know?
I
So,
just, you know, I just want to interject to say that if for people that aren't alcoholics, I think they hear something like that and they go, "Oh my gosh, that's crazy." I think for most people that are alcoholics, it's like, yeah,
yeah,
same.
that makes me feel good, like less alone.
I mean, I blacked out the second time. The first time I drank was kind of fun, and then the second time I drank, I had a full blackout. My friend broke her ankle, and we were like 14. Yeah. So,
Yeah. I broke my hand once. I once woke up with a broken hand and I was like, what and the lies you have to tell people about what happened. I just made it up. I said I fell in the snow.
yeah, snow is pretty slippery. So,
Yeah.
there you go. So, you knew you
That's it.
probably shouldn't drink, but you're 14. It's fun.
Yeah. And it just became like my social construct. Like all of my friends, we started drinking, and I just became part of like that group, where it was normalized just to be drinking every single weekend and just partying until you blacked out. But it was very obvious that mine was more extreme than others because I was doing things that other people weren't doing. Like my first blackout, I made out with one of my friend's boyfriends and I don't remember it. So that like kind of made that my reputation, But everyone knew, like all my friends, everything knew I wasn't a bad person, but like drinking makes you do bad things. And it also is really confusing when you don't remember them. And that just became the pattern of my life. So for 10 years, I thought I was just a bad person. And then I would always try to drink more in order to feel better, to make better memories. So I could be like, no, I can do this. So I think for 10 years, I was just fighting to be able to drink and be able to have fun. And I think, of course, as all alcoholics, we know you're filling a void. There was stuff that happened to me young that I was just trying to mask, and natural depression, natural anxiety, all of those combinations, they make you just a dangerous, dangerous 16-year-old, 17, 18-year-old, all the way to 25. It was scary.
So, while you were young, tell me about the chapter that you read at your book signing about the situation that happened where you got bullied.
Yeah. Yeah. So it I didn't start having like like the blackout sex. that didn't start until this. So this was before. I feel like when you're like making out with people and you're just like kind of doing dumb stuff, it's innocent, but sex is such a vulnerable thing. And especially as a young girl, it is like your repu like people are so unfair when it comes to women and sex. And like I'm just very sex positive. Like I'm very passionate about this. Like I'm not, and I think for so long I shamed myself for it, but at the end of the day, like a huge aspect of it was alcoholism. So like what happened with this account was basically I had a blackout, and when I came to, I was next to someone who I shouldn't have been next to, and he had a girlfriend at the time. And he was my friend, and I don't consider this guy to be a bad guy. He is also an alcoholic. So like I think we were both in the same boat in this situation. But yeah, so and this girl, who he was dating, she had recently had cancer. And so this is like the worst situation you can be in. Like sleeping with, I don't, like cancer's more normalized, but like back then in 2014, like that was such a horrible thing. And for me, I woke up and I was like, oh my God. And yeah, so after that, like I mentioned, she wasn't the kindest person in the world. And so she would like follow me around classes, yelling at me, calling me a whore, tweeting about me. And so like Twitter was like basically just her bullying me on it. And then so like a week after this event, I got home. I was at my dad's house. My mom wasn't around. She had her own struggles with alcoholism, and I was at my dad's house, and I had my ex-boyfriend texted me and he was like, "Hey, have you seen this?" And I looked at it and it was a Twitter account created with like images of me, like from my Facebook, and I'm like 16 at the time, and it just is calling me a whore in like 10 different variations. And the account was called Harry Harry Dicks, which like it's a funny chapter now and I'm able to like bring light to it, but it is just so crazy that this happened. And when I saw that account, I was like, my first reaction was they're right. Like I was never a victim in this, and I wasn't a victim because I didn't have the support around me to like help me with this. My dad called the police, he sent them to the girl's house. She said that she didn't do it. So then the police came back, and then the police called my dad and said, "Hey, she didn't say she made the account, but she was screaming that Ellie fucked her boyfriend." And so, why did a police officer tell my father that I was 16 and I lost my virginity? I don't know. I grew up in a really weird part of Pittsburgh, but yeah, and I think just the way a father is, the way my father is, after that, it was my fault, you know? And so then the police ended up somehow taking it down, and I found out that it was a group of girls that I was friends with. Like, those that group of girls that you're like friends with, but like every time I'd black out at a party, they'd like fuck with me, which is just so evil.
How did
And
you
but
find out who was behind it?
I loosely had someone admit it. They've never fully admitted it still, which is fine. Like that's not the point of this. The point is that like this is just one situation of being bullied at this age, and being bullied for something that you don't remember doing is insane. Like insane for a 16-year-old girl. Now I'm 29, I can understand it and I have so much compassion for myself and I forgave myself. But that didn't happen until I quit drinking. Because for 10 years, 8 years after that, after this account was made, and it was my second time having sex, the first one was with a boyfriend that I loved. So this is like, I was very like against that. But after that happened, it was as if something turned on in my head, and like it happened probably 20 more times before I graduated high school that I don't remember. And I talk about it in my book, but I do believe like sex is a form of self-abuse, especially when you're blacking out and doing it like this. And it just built this pattern that now that I'm not drinking, I'm 4 years not drinking, that's never happened. It it's such like there's such a gray area when it comes to alcohol and sex. And that's why if you're a girl who blacks out, you're 16, like I think it's very important for people to hear the story of saying like the only way to stop it is to stop blacking out. Like no, this was not happening to any of my friends. It was only happening to me and like one other girl I knew who was blacking out, and this was happening too. Like how did people not see this pattern? I don't know. how did adults not see this pattern and see that something was wrong? And like obviously I had stuff that happened to me when I was a little girl that was also enhancing this, but that's like the baseline of my story and it's just so vulnerable and I almost didn't put that chapter in the book, but after editing it multiple times because the first version of it is like you're a writer, you understand. The first drafts are sometimes just for you. It helped me accept it. But that I would say was the foundation of me not trusting myself when I drank. But it's interesting because it happened when I was 14 with my first blackout too. But like, I'm just not that, it's just so confusing because I don't know what I'm like when I'm blacked out, but I'm just not that kind of person that would like actively want to be intimate with someone's partner, you know? And then this pattern actually happened before I quit drinking where I was like, I'm just kind of jumping around, but there was a situation where I was in a relationship with a married man. And that was like my final straw. And then I quit drinking like a couple months after that ended. I was like, I don't know. It's just, I think that
How did that start?
the married man,
Mm-hmm.
he was a client. I don't know if I can speak too much on it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't need too many details, but like,
Yeah.
was it, I mean, I feel like this is a very common, I feel like everything that you're saying is very understandable and
Yeah.
relatable
Okay.
to
It,
people.
he was a friend of a friend, kind of, and him and his wife were open from what he said. And that's kind of how it started. But it started a night of a blackout, the intimacy.
Mm-hmm.
So a pattern. But he is someone who also has struggled with alcoholism and is in that same boat. So that's why it's such a gray area because sometimes things are happening with people in the same boat, but sometimes it's happening with people who are attacking you. And he was not that situation, but over my 10 years of drinking, that happened. And that's where the darkness comes in, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, just in a relating way, because I've also written a memoir about drinking, and
Hmm.
I refer to a period where I dated somebody who was married, and I talk about how, you know, sometimes when we're alcoholics, it's not you're not just going beneath your moral compass. You're just like, I don't know how I put it, but you're taking your moral compass and throwing it out the window and then running over it with your car. You're just all bets are off. I don't know. We just rationalize things or do things when we're drinking that we wouldn't
I
do
know.
when we're not drinking.
Yeah. And I need to read your memoir. I like need to read it.
But one of the things, that was really clear to me and that was my bottom was the fact that when I'm drunk, I think I'm not drunk. Like that's really
Yes.
what my thing. Like my body might be drunk, but my brain is like, no, you're better than ever. You're really thinking clearly. You haven't had very much to drink. You're fine. And so I make decisions to drive, because it's
Mm,
and I always say like sober me would be horrified. Like, what are you
hmm.
doing? Like, you've been drinking, like, you can't get behind the wheel of the car. But drunk me is not convinced at all that I'm drunk. So to me, there was no more clear indication of like, this is why you need to stop drinking because this
Hmm.
decision is extremely dangerous and you have kids. And I realized I can't say I'll never do that again. Like it's
I
not the
know.
kind of thing when you're drinking, you don't learn your lesson. You don't go like, "Oh, well, I won't do that again," because the next time you drink, you're going to do things again because that's what it does.
Yeah. And it's interesting, like now that I'm sober, it's like you can tell when people, whenever you're drunk, you can't really tell when people are lying to you. And that's what really got me in trouble. Like the situation with the married man, like I could have just been like, being lied to. But once it happened once, I was like, I'm in this. You
Right.
know? But now I would look at the situation and I wouldn't even come 100 steps close to that situation because it's obvious. You know? So I think we try to also rationalize our behavior by being like, well, wasn't that bad? But like, no, it was bad.
But also, and this might be a little bit off topic of like pure alcoholism, but I think that probably stuff in your background, stuff in my background makes you really susceptible to the love bombing. So it's like
Oh.
when somebody, especially somebody who's married, or but their intent on being with you, you get lied to a lot and you get a lot of very focused attention and you're the one for me. This is my love
Hmm.
story. This is like we were meant to be. I mean, this is you don't know at the time. I didn't know at the time like, oh, this is what people do. You just think, "Oh, well, his marriage is over. He's leaving." Like I'm not doing something that wrong, like, or whatever, or they're open, or whatever they tell you to make you go, like, okay, I'm not just deliberately being a bad person.
Yeah, love bombing. Love bombing is such a drug. Oh, because it feels
Mm.
good in the moment, but after when they take it away, like gut wrenching, the worst feeling. Like, and that's why I'm so grateful all these things happened. I would never, ever, ever, ever want to be in that time of my life again. Like, and I hate that, like, it's not regret. It's just like I wouldn't want to experience that again. But without it, you know, it there I have a lot of awareness when it comes to like relationships and men now, and I'm grateful for that.
Go back a little bit and talk to me about
Uh-huh.
your upbringing. What was
Yeah.
the situation with your parents? I mean, I know a little
Mhm.
bit, and I'm going to try to get your mom to
Yeah.
come on the show.
Yeah. So I was 4 when they divorced. And then my two blood brothers and I, we would go back and forth between the houses every week. And so my mom was really cool, really fun. Dad was really, really strict. So it was like living in two different worlds every week. And I lived out of a Vera Bradley bag until I was 13. And then at 14, my mom lost her job. She was a mechanical engineer. She lost her job. And then that's when her alcoholism took over. But growing up, my parents were drinking almost every day. At least one of them. They were drinking. I maybe not every day, but at my brain at that age, that's what I saw. Drinking was normal. Their part friends partied. They got really drunk and they changed, and that was just normal. All of their friends did it. And then once we were going back and forth between the houses, my mom, for a period, she had a lot of boyfriends. And she got engaged to this guy once, and then we moved into a bigger house. So I actually had a sister for a little bit. And then one day I came home and they were gone. So we were stuck in this big house, and then my mom unfortunately lost her job, and then that's when alcoholism took over, and then the recession. And so, long story short,
We're talking like 2008.
I
No,
graduated
you're too young.
2015.
Yeah. Okay, so
It
around that time, you must have been kind of young.
I was 13
Okay.
when she lost her job, 14. It was like going into, yeah, go after 8th grade, whatever that was. I graduated 2015. So whatever those dates are. And she lived in a couple apartments back and forth, worked like smaller jobs and stuff, but eventually moved her timeline. I don't even know her timeline, honestly. It is so crazy. She lived in like 10 different places, but I had to eventually live with my dad full time, and that just wasn't good for me as a young girl struggling. He did his best, but it just wasn't a good situation for what I needed. I needed my mom.
So your
And
mom was pretty bad with her alcoholism at that point and just couldn't care for you.
yeah,
Did she go to treatment?
yeah. Went to treatment, went to jail. She wore a ankle bracelet to my high school graduation. Couldn't drive for a while. Yeah, all of it. All of it. DUIs, DUIs, DUIs.
Now, were you aware of that at the time? Like, we were chatting a little bit before we went on air, but that's a lot for a young girl. Did you feel responsible for her?
Hmm.
Was she
There was a
emotionally reliant on you?
No, there was a period where my one brother was in college. The other brother lived at my dad's full time just because the house was bigger. And then I lived in the apartment with just my mom because I just didn't really get along with my dad at the time. And yeah, she almost died a couple times. And her little 14-year-old daughter had to step in and be the savior.
What
It
happened?
was
Can you tell me
hard.
the situation?
Yeah, I was a freshman in high school and I just came home and she was in a state that wasn't safe. And so I had to call my dad and we had to take her to the psych ward. And then everything kind of went downhill from there. Because we are kind of hiding it. We were kind of hiding the drinking from my dad so I could still live with her because she would let me go drink. My best friend lived downstairs in the apartment, so we would just go and drink every day. And when I lived with my dad, I could still sneak out. I always snuck out the basement, but he was just strict, very strict.
So when you have your mom admitted to the psych ward, what
Hmm.
happens? You can't go back with her after that.
I'd immediately move in with my dad full time.
You knew that would happen,
Yes, and that's why I hid it.
but this situation was just so bad that there was no hiding it. You scared?
Yeah, she was gonna die.
I mean, you say it like pretty almost dispassionately, but that must have been something very traumatizing at the time. I wonder, I
Yeah,
mean, I've
I've
had a few things happen at around that age. I don't know. I feel like we have stuff in common, even though I'm much
yeah,
older than you.
I
But did you just kind of, you must have kind of shut down a little bit and been like, okay, I'm on my own. I guess I have to be scrappier and take care of myself.
was very angry at her because I had to go live with my dad. And I'm trying to tread carefully talking about this aspect of it because I don't know if the details are necessarily important, but that's, yeah, it was the hardest period of my life. And that's when
So
my drinking got even worse.
I was going to say, so it must have escalated.
Everything.
And drugs? Were you doing drugs?
I started smoking weed at 14, but that's about it.
Hmm.
So weed,
Never got into like cocaine.
college.
Okay. All right. Well, then, so you finish high school, your mom shows up with the ankle bracelet, high school graduation, and then
Yeah.
you went to college.
Yeah, I
Also,
went
during
as
this time, I think it's interesting to say that you were not struggling in school. You were a very good student.
Yeah, I graduated with a 4.2 GP.
What is that about us alkies? Some of us can
Um,
keep our shit together in certain ways. I
I think,
couldn't. I was a terrible student,
oh really?
but
Well,
good for you.
you were probably successful in some other aspect. I think addiction and
No.
intellect. No.
I was smart. No, I was not no, I was not excelling in any ways, but go on. It's okay.
I think for a lot of addicts, addiction and intellect dance like this. And I think a lot of us are trying to shut up our brain. I've had so much information in this brain for so long, I just want it to stop. I like I like saw a video recently that people say that there's periods in their day where there's just nothing in their head. And I was like, you're a writer. I write novels in my head every day. I'm like, I could really pump out like 20 books right now of shit I'm just thinking about. But
I
some of it just
know.
isn't necessary.
Must be so nice just to have quiet in your brain for no reason.
Well, that's what a blackout was.
You, you know what? Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Or like 10 blunts.
Well, for me, pot was never great because I would do it if there was nothing else, but or just if it was there or if it was offered to me, whatever. But I would just get so paranoid and anxious. I don't know why I continued to do that to myself, but that's addiction, man. Something's not even
Yeah.
good, and you're like, okay, sure, I'll do it.
No, I
Oh, I
got
had a
paranoid
terrible
and
experience. Let's do it again. Let's try again. Maybe this time will be different.
it made me paranoid and anxious too. But once you smoke a certain amount, you pass that into what I call is like psychosis. And you're seeing stuff, but it's like, I don't know. I think I just,
Psychosis, goals.
I think there was just a goal of me just trying to be in a different head. And so I'm kind of jumping the gun, but once I quit drinking, I smoked weed aggressively for 3 years after. And so I was just trying to get in, I was literally trying to rewire my brain. So it was just different.
So, okay, so you go to college,
Yeah.
things get worse or better?
Oh my God. So, okay. So it was confusing because when I went to college, that was my first time ever having like my room that like felt like my room. You know what I mean? And I was like, oh my God, all my stuff can be here because my mom was out and about, but I had stuff in her storage, like some things were with her. It was confusing. Go to college. I'm living, well, first off, I leave the girls that made that account about me because that followed me. It followed me to graduation. They were at the graduation party. Like everything was just so present and no one would admit it. So I was just the bad person, at least in my head. That's where my head was. And because this girl who made the account, she ended up like doing other things. Like it didn't stop at the account. I'll leave that there. They would like, yeah, they were evil. But I go to college and I'm living with my still best friend at the time now, a girl named Fiona from San Diego. And she's like a ray of sunshine. She is just fun and she liked to black out like me. So I went to college and I somehow became friends with all these girls from California. And I was like, these are my people. East Coast people, I don't know. I just moved there and I became really good friends with girls from Colorado, California. And I just like, college was the first time I had a few good friends in high school, but college was the first time I found female friendship. So, in one aspect, it is the greatest thing that happened to me, but I binge drinked not every weekend, every day. We would drink Four Locos, Admiral Nelson's every single day. I had a Four Loco at least every single day. And I put on like 40 pounds my freshman year of college. Like the sex stuff was at its peak, but no one knew about the Twitter account and no one knew about my past. And I didn't tell anyone about it. So it was if like I kind of like removed that whole aspect of myself and brought all the good things, but I was still an raging alcoholic, but a lot of people were. Like 2016, 2015, 2016 is when I was a freshman in college. Like they talk about 2016, like house parties. No one has their phones out, like raging. It was just an experience. And I'm grateful for like maybe 1/10 of those nights, but the rest, no, bad things happen. Like it should happen freshman year. And I tell a story in the book about something that happened to me freshman year that involved like essay and stuff. And it was terrifying, but I would just drink more to suppress it.
Do you feel like since you've quit drinking, you had to deal with some of those things that you just numbed out?
So the weed numbed it. Writing the book helped, because I talk about it in the book, but it's as if like the book was me intellectualizing everything and getting it out and telling my story. And then I wasn't able to finish the book until I wrote the last chapter, which is just so funny. And as a writer, I know you know this whole process. I couldn't finish it until I quit weed because the last chapter is like a 2025 forward saying why I quit. Like this is the truth. This brought me to this point. And once that happened, it was a few months of just like quitting weed. Because when I quit alcohol, I was still microdosing shrooms almost every day and smoking like 2 to 3 blunts and Diet Coke. Like that's still the life of an addict, but it's the life of an addict not blacking out, which was really nice. And I also like was able to create a lot. But once the weed was like awful, I'm an addict. I was 100% addicted to it. It was making me a really angry person. It was making me really depressed. I couldn't keep relationships. Like it was the same relationship, just less dangerous. But then I was driving every single day while belligerently high. So like also not less dangerous. It's just there wasn't blacking out, which was my biggest problem for so long.
Tell
But
me
once I
about
quit,
tell me about like the how you quitting. Like what did you do? What was the bottom? What was
yeah.
this has got to stop?
Yeah. So I was working for the NBA at the time, and I had some clients who were like very successful actors and creatives. And I just always knew that I was meant for something that like used my voice and I felt confident in and was creative. But my entire life I thought like I was raised by, like the classic like white collar, you know, boomers. Like you go to work and you come home and you have kids and your day's over. And then when I met all these people, like I left Colorado, I went to Atlanta after I graduated college with my ex-boyfriend now. And it just introduced me to this world and I was like, oh my God, I'm a creative. And people are like, why aren't you acting? Like, why aren't you doing this? Because they just like saw something. And so I had a really good conversation with an actress. And the most interesting thing about her is we were in the courtside club because most of my days were in the courtside club with
What were you
clients.
doing?
I was a premium sales manager
Okay.
for the I don't know if I can say it, Atlanta Hawks. We might have to
Oh,
cut that out.
okay.
I don't know.
Why?
I don't know.
Not releasing any information. That's cool. You had okay, so you had
Yeah,
a cool job.
yeah. And But I was drinking on the job
Right.
because the client who I was talking about, the married man, he gave me drinks. It was
Hmm.
fun, but
Yeah.
I was really drunk on the job.
Okay, but
And
that's in the past.
For sure. But I met this actress, and the most interesting thing about her was that we were in the club. And when I tell you their open bar is an open bar like I've never seen in my life, it is 5 star, and she wouldn't take a drink. And I was like, why is this girl not drinking?
The most foreign thing. You're like, you have get free drinks.
Oh my God. And she's like, no, I have to be on set the next day. I was like, and so then I slowly somehow got into background work, and I was on the set of a show, and I won't be able to say the name of this because
That's
of what I
okay.
did, but they had, for some reason, they gave us champagne, which I don't think they're supposed to do this, but I was like background for like a party, and I was handcuffed to a random girl, and they gave us a bottle of champagne, and I wouldn't let the girl have any of it. I drank the whole bottle. I was like,
Classic.
you don't need this, because she was 20. I was like, you don't need this. I drank the whole thing, and I was like, and around me, everyone was just taking sips. I was like, oh, this will end my career if I really want to do this. And so that was one aspect of it. It was that the married man actually played an important role because he was very familiar with alcoholism, and he's the first person that looked at me and said, you don't need a drink. And it wasn't judging me. He was just saying, like, you don't need this to be who you are. You're amazing. You're brilliant. You're going to be very successful. You do not need that to do that. And I hate that I don't hate it. It's so interesting that it's like the most random person that kind of plant something in your head. That's why they always say you can't be the partner of someone telling them to quit drinking. You can't be this. Sometimes it really is an outsider who comes in and gets to know you and just sees it. And so
Mhm.
that was a seed. The other seed, then my 25th birthday, I had a really bad blackout. I was living alone in Atlanta at the time. And I tell the story in my book, so I won't tell it now, but it was scary. And
You
4 days
tell us a
later,
little.
yeah, I went to a club. I got a bunch of free drinks. I took an Adderall because I was also like abusing Adderall and Vyvanse when I was drinking because it let you drink more. And I woke up and I was just splattered on my bed, and there was just some girl had came in my apartment, brought me home, and she left me this a very concerning voicemail on my work phone. Somehow I gave her my work phone number, and I deleted the voicemail because it was so bad. So I can't read it verbatim, but I don't know how she found me. I don't know where I was because my friends that dropped me off after the bar dropped me off at my apartment. So what happened from the front door to my apartment to my bed, I don't know, and my phone was found in the hallway flights above.
Wow.
And so that same day, I had tickets to go to like the Delta Sky Club at the Braves game, like free alcohol. And I went there and I was just drinking those beers, just like, fuck. And then 3 days later, I went to a girlfriend's house who I was working with, and she had this really nice patio. And I get there and I tried, usually I always brought a bottle of wine wherever I went, of course. This time I was like, let me not bring it. Let me not do that. Because I was like, oh, I should, like, I was really wanting to quit. I tried quitting. Let's say I tried quitting like 100 times at this point. I've been trying to quit drinking for a long time at this point.
Right,
I
right.
never made it past, I very rarely made it past 24 hours. If I went 24 hours without drinking, I would celebrate by drinking. I think I made it once 72 hours.
People don't understand that. Like, but by the time that I quit drinking, I was definitely drinking 7 days a week.
Oh
And
yeah.
of course, had also, but I hear people when they're like, and then at I'll take like a week off here and there. And I'm like, okay, not an alcoholic. I don't want to change anybody's thinking who's
I
listening to this.
know.
Of course, you can stop before it gets to the point that you have to drink every single day. But I'm always jealous of those people that are like, "Oh, yeah, I just stopped for a couple weeks."
And
Really?
I think that's a difference. Like I do think there's like I think alcoholism, like alcoholic, whatever the word is, research is getting more broad. And I talk about a lot of like alcohol use disorder, binge drinking disorder, but there's a difference. I don't think there's a difference, but I think both can fall under the alcoholic map, which is just straight up alcoholism, drinking every day, and then binge use drinking disorder.
Right.
And I think a lot of people who still consider themselves alcoholics have binge drinking use disorder. And that's what a lot of people struggle with. That's still not great, you know? And if they want to be alcoholics, come on, you know what I mean?
Listen, I
But
always say, and we always say, like, all you to qualify as an alcoholic, you need to want to quit drinking. If
yeah.
you want to quit drinking and you're having trouble quitting drinking, and this is important,
Hmm.
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether you're a alcoholic, whether you could take a blood test and they go, yes, you qualify. It's like if you are trying to quit drinking, especially many times, People always go, well, why don't you just moderate? Well, obviously I can't moderate, which is why I had to quit entirely.
Yeah.
So if you've
My
tried
like
moderating your drinking and you're not successful at that, then it doesn't matter whether you call it alcoholism, alcohol use disorder, a drinking problem,
mhm.
whatever it is, abstinence can help.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. And that just brings up a point in my book is the entire time when I was writing this book, I didn't call myself an alcoholic. I said I had alcohol use disorder. And it's just funny because within the book, I write like little notes at the end of a lot of chapters, like 2025 perspectives. And I'm like, I am a grade A alcoholic. Like, it's interesting doing this book and all this because there's a lot of research. Like, this book isn't just stories. Like, I'd say every other chapter is like my version. Like, I say I'm not a doctor, I'm not a scientist, but like, I did a lot of research. This like helped me stay sober. I wasn't in program when I wrote this whole book. I didn't go to my first AA meeting until like 2 years after my last drink. I dove in and I wrote essays about it, and I read different books and I researched other alcoholics and I really researched this disease in a way that was just so authentic to who I was, and I was still smoking weed. So that's why I think it's an interesting perspective because now I would write a totally different book since I've been in program and since I've been doing different research now that I'm not smoking weed, but both are still accurate and both are still it's good information. And that's why I just like modern. Like I'm so against technology in some ways, but there's so much research at our hands, especially for younger people who are struggling. Like there's so many ways to learn about this. And so yeah, this book kind of I think after reading the book, I was like, oh, I'm a grade A alcoholic. I didn't consider myself drinking when I was having just a bottle of wine a day. That was just a normal day. It was when I had like two bottles and then some shots that I was drinking.
I, I think that's relatable.
Yeah. And it's just so weird now. Like it's so interesting when you're in it. And this brings me back to the point of how I quit. It was the most random thing that was my last straw. Like the most random. And this is where spirituality comes into it because around 2020 I discovered like my version of spirituality, which is like I it follows more so under like the esoteric level of it. And I think there's multiple ways to communicate with a higher power, and I found mine, and that's more so through like crystals, tarot, meditation, and praying, to goddesses and gods and just archangels. Like I just believe like there's like a whole robust version of it. And I grew up Catholic, and so it was so strict. And so I didn't have a spiritual life for a while, and then I discovered this, and that played such an important aspect in it. So there was an aspect of it of getting sober, and I don't like to say this because it's not really helpful, but it was magic. I know that's not helpful for people struggling, but like
So
that's what it was.
what was your last drink?
It was okay, so I was talking about the girls' balcony. The friend whose house I went over to her house and I didn't bring a bottle of wine.
Hmm.
And I get there and we like have we're gonna sit there and watch a movie. And I'm like looking around and I saw that she had a bottle of wine. And I was like, "Can I have some of that?" She was like, "Okay." And she poured just me a glass and I sat on her balcony drinking her wine and I drank the whole bottle. And I went home and I was like, "Fuck." Drove home. Went home. And okay, and then also there's like 10 straws. One, I was doing a video, like a music video for a friend, like acting in it. And they had tequila, and I drank half the bottle of tequila and drove home and almost crashed my car on 85 in Atlanta. I was fighting a blackout while driving because I just told myself I would never drink and drive because of my mom. But once my boyfriend and I broke up and I was living alone in Atlanta, I was like, I gotta get places.
Right.
That's how I knew my addiction was bad, is I started doing stuff that I said I would never do. Because drink DUIs took my mom away from me. Well, it was alcoholism, but in my head it was DUIs, the police. And yeah, so but my final straw, the morning that I said I'm never drinking again, my last drink was on her balcony. I came home and this was the next morning. Jack Harlow released an album. It was called like Come Home, the Kids Miss You. And I met him at a game that same year and I was just around him. I was like, this guy's cool. Why can't I be like this guy? If he could be doing well and creating, why can't I? And so I was just like, you know, and I listened to his album and I didn't know he was not drinking at the time. And it said in one of the songs, it's called Young Harleasy, and it says bottle, because at this point I'm going to be transparent too. In Atlanta, I was going out a lot to strip clubs. I was in bottle service. Like I fell in love with that life. I fell in love with it. So quitting drinking would sacrifice that life. I love being in the private clubs with bottles and cameras on us, because I want to freaking act. It all makes sense now. But his lyrics said, bottles in this section marked Fiji. Like he's in the bottle service club drinking Fiji water.
Right,
And
right,
that was
right.
it. That was it. I was like, I'm never drinking again. And then I went on my phone and I researched, I'm gonna be transparent, I researched actresses that don't drink, and it was all of my favorite actresses. And I just never drank after that. It was really hard, and I started chain smoking weed, but that got me to this point, which I'm fully sober a year and 6 days.
It's an incredible story, I think. And then you wrote the book
Hmm.
while you were smoking weed, but
Yeah.
then at the end of the book, you quit smoking weed.
Yes. And I
Did
think the
you write
book
about
did
that in the
that.
book?
Oh, yeah.
In the book?
Yeah.
No, we can't see it because it's backwards, but I'm going to
You
link to the
could.
book. Yeah,
Yeah.
in the description.
It's called The Diary of a 25-Year-Old Alcoholic because I wrote it from 25 to 27.
And then I mean, how is it going with that? And the reason I ask that is because having also written a memoir about quitting drinking,
Hmm.
you're putting all of your personal business on Front Street. Like, how does
Ooh.
that feel? There's a lot of shame involved, and you just have to really get used to the idea that you're helping people.
Yeah, and I think that's okay. That's another, I do think one of the biggest reasons to quit, how people quit drinking is purpose. And I think every person has a purpose. Anyone who says they don't have a purpose, I'm sorry, you're wrong. If you're on this earth and you are breathing, you have a purpose. I'm very strict on that. I don't care if it's to go pick berries. I don't care if it's to try to become president. Like, it doesn't matter. And I think my purpose, at least at this part of my life when I wrote this and now, is to share this story to help people who are struggling, specifically young girls. And I just have no option. The entire time, I had no idea. I never planned to write a book. I wasn't a writer. Now I
Well,
am.
you're a great writer.
Thanks, but I wasn't. And then I was just drinking and selling basketball tickets. And I wanted to be an actress. And I'm still pursuing acting. Of course, I think they all blend. Like, at the end of the day, like I'm an artist, And it's crazy what it turned into. And honestly, like yes, the stories are hard to tell, but my best friend and I edited it and I played like the major part in editing it. And I self-published, I wrote it, I edited it, I formatted it. Like that forces you to get comfortable with the material. If I wrote it once and sent it to someone and never read it again, this would be a whole different relationship. I edited every single word at least 20 times. Like that forces you to accept this and not become numb to it, but just be like, I really thought about it if I want to put this out, and I am. And I almost didn't put Harry Dicks in the book, and then that's the only chapter I've read live so far. So it just shows like there's like, and this is where the spirituality comes. It's like I have no choice. Like this is what I have to do. Because if I don't do this, then I'm not aligned with my purpose, and that makes me want to drink. That's just how it works for me. I think it's different for everyone, but
Well, it's a beautiful story, and
thanks.
we didn't touch so much on your mom, and
Yeah.
I'm really hoping, guys, I'm working on this, that I have your mom on the podcast because, you
Yeah.
know, interestingly, I am closer in age, I'm very close in age to your mom,
Yeah.
who must have had you when she was so, so young. No, I don't think she actually did. Uh, that's just what I like to tell myself. But
Hmm.
the point is, your mom has her own shame and
Hmm.
take on this story that I would relate to in that way too. So I
Hmm.
relate to you and talking about drinking at a young age, and I relate to your mom. Uh, I'm just so grateful that I was able to get the clarity I needed and quit drinking when my kids were extremely young.
Hmm.
My twins were only 18 months old, so they don't have any memory of me drinking, and my older daughter was only 4, so she same.
Yeah.
But that's, you know, lucky.
Yeah. I want to hear her story from that perspective with you. I'll set it up. We'll make it work.
Okay. Anyway, it was lovely chatting with you. And
Yeah.
if they want to buy the book, yes, the Diary of a 25-year-old alcoholic. I will link to
Hmm.
it, and it's Elli Rose. Say your last name for us one more time. Sorry,
Sokovic.
Cikovic,
Yeah.
Cikovic.
Hmm.
But you'll see that in the link. Um, Oh, you're the
Yeah,
best.
you too.
Thank
I'm
you
so happy I
again.
met you.
Same. All right.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody. See you next week.
Feeling like life is good, yeah. Life is good.